All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Behind the Building Block. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Maria Marquis, and here at Coda, I focus on customer education and really empowering people to build the docs that are going to help them solve those work and life problems. Now, I'm also joined today by my wonderful colleague, Angad. Angad, do you want to introduce yourself to the group?
Hey, nice to be here. I'm a PM. I work at Coda. I've been here for a year and a half and worked on a bunch of cool stuff, including Pages, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, totally. So just so everybody knows how today's going to work, we are going to do a little bit of a demo of Pages in case you haven't seen it or experienced it yourself yet. But our main job today is to really make sure that you leave with all of your questions answered. So if you have a question today, you can always go and post things in chat. And a lot of you have already found that, which is absolutely wonderful. But if you've got a question, just to make sure that we don't lose it, I'd love it if you would just click on the ask a question button below Angad and my faces. That'll be the best way that we don't lose it. And actually, we have a wonderful question already. Danny, thank you so much for posting it, which is, I'm currently a Notion user and I'm getting familiar with Coda. Is Coda more focused on the team or is it personal as well? So I'll give my response, but Angad, I'd also love for you to weigh in on this. So the way we think about here at Coda is that it kind of meets both needs. We really focus a lot on helping a team be able to be productive, connected, and building those docs that are going to help power their business systems. But we also really believe that it can really impact people's personal lives as well. And speaking from my own experience, I obviously use it at work, but I also use it to manage my own personal tasks. My partner and I also use it to plan and manage our trips and things like that too. But Angad, how about you? How would you answer this question?
Yeah, I think we definitely bias more towards teams, and teams could mean work teams or life teams, like Maria said.
Yeah.
People do all kinds of running, interest groups and churches and all kinds of stuff like that. But I think generally Coda tends to work better for teams, although we have lots and lots of people using it by themselves, and especially some of the more power features like being able to add formulas or integrate with other apps. If you're really one of the productivity nerd type people who want to
Totally.
power up your to-do list, you can definitely do that as well.
Yeah, I totally think that docs are better when shared, but feel free to just play by yourself as well. Thanks,
Yep.
Danny. So at any point in time today, you don't have to wait to ask your question. There's no such thing as an interruption. So please feel free, just use that ask a question or chat at any time. We'll be happy to help. So just to get us grounded in the conversation, I want to do a quick demonstration of what this whole Pages thing is anyway. So I'm going to share my screen. If you just do me a favor when you can see it, if you could just let me know, want to make sure that we're all good from that perspective. Awesome. And I'm going to change the focus there. Beautiful. Thanks, Danny. Awesome. Great. So this is just a sample Coda doc using sort of a company wiki as the use case, because for me, that's really where Pages comes alive. So in the past, if we were to travel back in time, get in our time machines about a month ago, if you were to make a Coda doc, you had two options for your list over here on the side. You could have a folder that could hold any number of sections, but that's about as low as you could go. You couldn't do hierarchies or go really deeply. So what Angad and his team did is they redesigned that experience to be Pages. So over here on the side of the page, you'll notice on the side of the page, I'm going to say that word a lot today. You've got all of these different pages. You can go ahead and click on the little arrows to collapse that if you wanted to just see the doc nice and big here. But then over on the side, you can also click into any of these pages to jump to that area. Now notice some of these do have the little carrots. That means that there's more pages inside. So here you can see I have different areas for each of our tools, also for benefits. And notice you can even go a little bit deeper. So maybe I want to see all of the different health plans. Open enrollment is starting for us right now. So this was on my mind. I could even say, oh, maybe we have a couple different HMO plans. Maybe I want to add more subpages. I could go ahead and do that just by clicking add a subpage. This can be HMO 1, and then we could add another subpage just by clicking the ... and we could have HMO2, and we could even go deeper. So we can add even more subpages. So if we want to get super nested in this hierarchy, we can. And just always remember, we always love to add these icons. It just kind of allows you to have a little bit more color, personality, And the other thing I really love about Pages is if you were to click on any of these kind of parent pages like benefits, notice that all of those subpages show up right here for you as well. So I can click into vacation and jump right there, click into health and be able to see everything as well. Click into HMO and see all of those subpages and keep on clicking through. And notice you always have that little back button up here at the top. Now, let's say, oh no, I added a page and it's in the wrong spot. Well, what you can always do is just drag and drop these pages around. So if you want to have them be in a different order, or if you want to drag them into any area, like maybe the HSA is part of HMO1, you could go ahead and just drag it into HMO1, and all of a sudden that's now a subpage as well. So lots of opportunities to kind of move things around. And ultimately, it's a relatively simple feature because in this case, I've just demonstrated it for you. But I think it really just changes how everything works and changes how we can really think about putting our docs together. So Ankit, from a demo perspective, is there anything I missed that I should also be showing off?
I think that's generally good. I'm happy to take questions and
Yeah,
especially would love to hear any feedback since we're still working on making.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to go ahead and I believe I've stopped sharing my screen. Fantastic. Angad, I'd love to know, how did the idea for this release come about? Because I think the story behind it is really interesting.
Yeah. Well, when we first built folders and sections, I was not here then, but what I hear is that there was a lot of debate about whether you can have folders inside folders or not. And people kind of thought, well, nobody would ever need to put like more than one level of folders. Why would you want to put a folder inside a folder? And so actually, in behind the scenes, Coda always supported putting folders inside folders, but we never allowed users to do it. So in the back end, we could have folders supporting it, but we talked about, and we used to hear from users all the time that they want to put folders inside folders. But we never really got around to it, and we also didn't know how to figure out how to actually make it work. And meanwhile, we started hearing from lots of users that they want to also put pages inside other pages. And it was like, oh, okay, like you want to see a subpage for a page like Maria was just showing. You could have a page with your overall benefits and then subpages for specific things. And so we started thinking about that. Do we even need folders and so on? And it kind of went down this track and realized that this model that we've actually shipped just now, where you only have pages and subpages, you kind of only have to learn one thing, that there's a page. You don't have to learn that there are two things, but it's also more flexible. Before, you had to learn about folders and sections, and you could still do less things with them. Now you just learn pages, and that pages can go live inside other pages, and you can do whatever you want. You can really be much more flexible, which is, in the spirit of Coda, is like much more aligned with what we look for, but it happens to also be just much easier to get started with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. And I'll just say the thing about pages, that Angad's talking about, there's one thing to learn, is that those pages can then also be referenced everywhere else. So if I wanted to have a link to a page, I could just do @ the page title, and it's right there in my doc. And then you can pull in from any of those other pages that are inside of your Coda doc. So we've got some questions coming in. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The @ part doesn't quite work yet. It's going to work very soon. We're working on it. Yeah, what you can do already is right now there's a hyperlink button up in the toolbar. You can click there to get a link to another page. The @ one is something we've heard a lot, so it's coming soon.
Yes.
And then another hack that we recently added that we haven't announced yet, but since people are here, I'm happy to share a bit, is you can actually drag a page from this page list onto the page. So you take a page from the sidebar, you can drop it on the page, and you get a link to it. So that's like the fastest way to link.
I love it.
Yeah.
The other great thing is that everything is drag and droppable. So you can move things around and also bring it in. Love that. Oh, so wonderful. Sinning says he loves the ability to hide subpages, keeps everything tidy but still accessible. I'm the same way. Love it, Sinning. Perfect. We've got a question here from Marco, which is, how can I know that something is changed on a page? Anga, do you want to chat a little bit about version history, how that plays into here? Because this is something that's slightly different from a company wiki like Atlassian or Confluence, where you would be able to see highlighted changes.
Yeah, right now we only do version history on the doc level or on a row level. So if you have something that changes in a row, you can see it. But for pages, there's not a direct way to see what was changed on a particular page. Obviously, you can go into the version history and see what's changed across the whole doc. You can see all the older versions, but I don't think there's a way to see what's been changed on a particular page That's good feedback.
Yeah, awesome. So it's not sort of, since Coda is built not just to be a company wiki, but kind of to be the building blocks for which to build whatever tool you need. There's not that kind of built-in sort of standard company wiki like Confluence, showing all the flags. But
Yeah.
for every doc, you can go into its version history, see a play-by-play of everything. And for every row, if you open it up, you can see every single change that's happened on that row, like Ankit
Yeah.
said. Great question, Marco. Ooh, this is lovely. I love this question, Will, which is Angad, what were some of the biggest product challenges in launching this new change?
Yeah, well, the biggest challenge is that we kind of made a change to how it used to work before. If we had designed it this way to begin with, and this is like before we launched the product, we would have had way fewer things to go and figure out. So I think a lot of it was, we have, I think, 600,000 docs now across all our users. And so we had to figure out how those docs will work if they have folders in them already. How do you make them look fine, not look empty, and so on. So the thing that you were just showing with showing the subpages on a particular page, we made it so that if you convert an older thing that used to be a folder into a page, it now has content on it. So it doesn't look like a blank, empty page in your document. But also, of course, there's other benefits to it. And so that was one of the challenges. And then again, how does that affect all these other things that we've built since then? We built top nav, we built we have pricing, like all these types of things. So there was a lot of details to figure out. How does it work on mobile when you have lots and lots of levels of nesting, et cetera, et cetera. So that was probably more of it was to do with the fact that we had an older feature that we did a different way, and then we had to migrate people. That was kind of painful.
Yeah, because I think when anytime folks who are working in products, that anytime you make a change or you sort of develop it, you start to realize the habits that people have built because of how your product used to be, right? People started to build docs using the restrictions of folder with sections inside. And now once you explode that and you have all these new options, it kind of changes how you can think about what a doc is. So all of the patterns that you've built, you don't necessarily need them anymore.
Correct.
And that meant that a lot of times we had to revisit all of these docs that we had built for that former context, that former paradigm, and be like, oh, well, what does this mean now? And where does this cause a problem? So doing a ton of research there. Love that, Ankit.
We definitely had to go, also after the launch, had to go and update all kinds of templates and help content, and Maria was super helpful with that as well. But yeah, we had to go rethink about a lot of these things. I think probably the most common example is now what you have a top level page. It's like a equivalent of a folder, a page that contains other pages. Before, you couldn't put content on it, and so if you had like an intro page for a particular folder, you would have to make it the first page in that folder. But now you can actually put the content of that page on the top level, on the parent page itself. And so we had to go manually kind of copy paste some of these pages and put them in the folder, what used to be the folder. And so just kind of show the right patterns for and actually, when there's time, I'd love to show. I made a doc for ways you can use pages as well. So I'm happy to let's cool. We can go.
Yeah, for sure. We got one more question right now, and then let's definitely take a look at that. But everybody, please keep those questions coming. I also have some more things I'll be poking at Angad's brain a little bit to learn more. So this is from Danny, and I believe this is a follow-up, Angad, from the drag and drop page into the canvas, which is, does that take the page out of the sidebar and onto the page, or does it just create a link?
It's the latter. So it just creates a link. It doesn't take it out of the sidebar.
Yeah, so thinking about it like a jump link. So as Angad was saying, you can include hyperlinks to pages anywhere inside of your doc. So if you're maybe writing up an account plan and you want to link to a customer profile, you can just add the hyperlink and include the page right there. It'll be just in a menu that you can select from and be able to then have that kind of moving around, which if we think about the company wiki example, being able to have those cross-linking is so critical to helping people navigate, kind of go down that rabbit hole of whatever they're looking for. Awesome. Thanks, Danny. Yeah, everybody keep those questions coming. We, of course, I have a couple more questions I'll be asking Angad as well, but let's take a look at this ways to use pages doc, Angad. I think that'd be great. And everybody, please keep those questions coming. We're here for you. Cool.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger on our end. Perfect. Excellent. Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, cool. So we just came up with some ideas. Of course, like as with everything in Coda, it's all customizable, so do it your way. But I just wrote up some things that we've seen. So again, we launched this feature maybe like 3 weeks ago, but internally we've been using it for about 2 months. So I've seen it across all kinds of Coda docs internally. So I just want to share, like some of the patterns that
Okay.
that I've seen that I think work pretty well. So again, here probably this is sort of what I was talking about before. The newest thing that you can do that you couldn't really do before is like if you have a top level page, in this case you have home, you can start to put content here. So there's a really simple scenario. It's showing, before you could only have these sub pages, but now you can make the top level page be like the intro for the whole project or something like that.
Yeah.
Of course, this is the opposite of it, and we have heard some people be. I mean, it is a bit jarring or different from before, where like, is it okay to have a page with nothing else in it? Like is the equivalent of a folder from before. Like, I want to have a page, but I don't want to have any content on it. Is that weird? Is that okay? And so again, like we've designed that with that in mind, and we have many docs that use this pattern. And for example, here I have a folder or equivalent of a folder called meeting notes. And I don't really want to put anything on the top level thing. I just want to have individual pages for meeting notes. And so here, it's just showing, you can totally leave it empty. On the sub pages, I don't know if Maria showed this in the beginning. I don't think you did. But there's actually a way to change the size of them. I can show you a quick example.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Just do it right here. So I'm going to make a sub page. Let's see.
And what Ankit is showing right now is this ability inside of your docs to just type that /, and then it pulls up all of the things that you can add to them. So this is a really great way to stay efficient and also to just see every option. So if you're unsure, like, oh, does Coda have something? Just type / in your doc and it'll pull up. You just scroll through everything, poke around. It's a great way to learn and play.
Yeah, I also worked on that. I'm happy to
You're just super fancy, Ankit.
Yeah, but here you have what Maria was showing earlier on this page. There's a subpage inside of it. Right now it's blank. I didn't put anything there. But what I was just trying to show you is if you click here and click on size, you can actually make them bigger. And well, this medium doesn't look that much bigger, but it actually gives you a different view. I'll show that in a second. But with large, so this is actually the medium view. You can actually put them side by side. And then this is the large one. So again, going back to what I was saying before, if you just want to use a page as a blank container of other pages, that's totally fine. And you may want to just make it large so it doesn't look as empty. And that works totally fine. Like we use it all the time. You don't have to put content on there at all.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was saying.
And again, I want to reiterate something that Angad said, which is it's really up to you, right? These are just a couple ideas, but if you're like, I don't like that, I like it this other way, it's all about your own creativity. So just take these building blocks, use them how you see fit. It's entirely up to you. Yeah.
Totally.
Go ahead, Angad.
Yeah. Again, these are just to spark some ideas, but absolutely feel free to use it the way that makes sense for you. Cool. This is sort of more similar to what Maria was showing before, where before earlier in Coda, you couldn't do this. You could only have one level of hierarchy. You could have a folder and a section inside of it. But now, for example, this is actually coming straight from a customer that was in our beta. They wanted to organize their doc this way. They wanted to have an area for locations. And then within locations, they wanted to have each location have its own area. Like New York could have their own, area, and then they could do whatever they want inside of that. And then similarly, you could have one for each project and so on. I think one thing that I usually like to do in my docs, and I advise that people do, is to have maybe like 4 or 5 pages at most at each level. So if you look at when this is collapsed, it's really easy for me to look and say, do I want to go to teams or locations or clients or projects? It's like I don't have to think much. It's like, oh, if I'm looking for something related to New York office, it's probably in the locations thing. I go locations, okay, I see New York. Now I can kind of parse my way down. Like, some people that are really organized do this with their home folders on their Mac as well, or Windows computer, or you'll do it in like a Dropbox folder or something. Like it's really good practice to just have a few pages at each level, and the hierarchy in a way that anybody who's coming in can make sense of it. So you come in, you're like, okay, if I'm looking for something related to benefits, it's probably in the like Teams stuff or something like that. Like kind of organize it in a way that makes sense for whatever content is inside of it. So this just gives you a lot more flexibility. Let's see. Yeah, this is a pattern that's kind of, I never thought about it beforehand, but I just saw myself using all the time, and I've seen it in other docs as well. Is in Coda we have views, so you can have a base table which has all of your data in it, and then views which filter that data in different ways or show it in different ways. And so sort of what this is showing is you can actually have, for example, you could have a view. Let me find the right, let's wait for the GIF to get to the right place. Yeah, so here you have the full table, and then up here you have views of them.
I love
and
that.
So what's really nice is instead of having a user having to figure out how do I filter this table, maybe I can show you an example of this in a published doc actually. Let's see, I don't know if you guys saw, but someone recently built a Airbnb employee list of people that were recently affected by the layoffs there. But a really simple example of this is you'll see the full list at the bottom of the page. Here you have the full list. And then if you want to filter it, because we show the subpages up here, you can actually filter. So these are actually just going to take you to filtered views off the same list.
Love it.
So it's like a really easy way for your teammates to realize that, oh, I don't have to see the full list. I can just see the stuff that's assigned to me, or I can see the stuff that's like ready for whatever, ready for work, or like the stuff that's done, or et cetera, et cetera. So that's like another pattern that I've actually seen. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people use it.
I'm obsessed with this use case now. I'm like, ooh, subpages for views, because we always think about when we're designing docs, right? It's not just designing it for ourselves, but for the people that we're working with. So making it really, really clear for anyone who's not us, if they're looking for marketing jobs, they can just go, oh, I click marketing. That just makes sense to me.
Yep.
We've got a really good question here from Sinding, which is, what is the direction that Coda is moving with regards to searching inside of pages and subpages? I haven't heard any updates on this, Angad, but I know that you work in that doc experience, so maybe you've got some details that I don't.
Yeah, I think our search, if I'm honest, is like okay at best. It's a known thing. I think we definitely need to make it better. We don't have any plans at the moment to make it better. We're working on some other stuff first. But we absolutely, I know we had a hackathon like maybe 10 days ago, and it was one of the things I pushed was we need a better way to search the content of a particular page, or the contents of all your docs, or within a doc, and so on. Yeah, at the moment you can still search for the names of pages. You can search for any content that lives anywhere in your doc. You can use Command F. It works most of the time to find stuff on your current page. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, I think we could do a lot better. For the most part, it tends to work okay.
We got a question here from Danny, which is there a shortcut cheat sheet? So as far as like getting to all of the potential things you could do, I honestly think that just typing / is the best way, because you can then all of a sudden see, and you can, after you type / you can start typing like table or control or image, whatever's on your mind, and that's the best way to get to a bunch of information. If you're looking for keyboard shortcuts, that's if you click the little question mark in the lower right, keyboard shortcut should be one of the options there. Yeah.
As I just demonstrate what Maria was saying. If you haven't been using / already, I really
do it. Get on the / train.
Yeah, you can type / and start looking for any template. So I can search for topic voting, and it'll come up. Sorry, my computer just get a bit slow with screen sharing. But yeah, essentially you can search for these hundreds of things just by typing /. There are things that you can only find using /. We were kind of thoughtful about things you can find. So just try typing like / I don't know, /Slack. And you'll see that we have a Slack pack, and you're like, oh, cool, and I have some templates that I can use with Slack, et cetera, et cetera. Another thing I'll say is, for example, you can type / shortcuts. So what Maria was just saying, this is a much faster way. You just type / shortcuts, and you can see all the keyboard shortcuts that we have, as well as Markdown. I don't know if people use Markdown, but once you start using it, you cannot stop. It's basically a shortcut to get a heading and formatting of other kinds. So, for example, if I type sign and press space, I now have a heading. If I type a star, now I have a bullet. If I type a square brackets set, I now have a checklist, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, just I think the / menu really gives us this option to let people find stuff that they didn't know about before. Yeah, just try /. You can browse this list by scrolling. It's actually the same list that shows up in this Explore panel here now. You can find all kinds of cool stuff.
And one thing, you might have missed it because it was scrolling through, but one of the other things that you can have in that / is pulling up little mini templates. So like to-do list or topic voting or team tasks. So it's a really nice way to kind of get started quickly, so you don't have to do all of the starting work. That's one of my personal favorite parts of the / menu, honestly.
Right. And this is just
Cool.
an example. Here we only have 5 suggestions, but if you click on more
Mhm.
templates, you can see we have hundreds. I'm sure most people have seen those,
Mhm.
but you can actually search for any of them. So I can
Yeah.
search for timer, and I can get the in-dock timer.
Mhm.
Even though it wasn't showing in the list, I can find it still.
Yeah.
So once you know what you're looking for, you can just type slash and find it.
Love it. Awesome.
Yeah,
We've got another question here from Marco, which is, can we export a page with nested pages to PDF? So the answer is kind of, but it's not particularly beautiful yet. This is actually, Angad was talking about the hackathon that we did last week or the week before. I don't know. What is time anymore? This was one of the big things that we were thinking about. We actually have one engineer whose wife is always saying, like, please make exporting to PDF better. So
yeah.
in the interest of honesty, you can by doing the clicking the little drop down next to your doc and choosing print, but it's not perfect yet, and we do know that there's some work to be done there. Yeah,
Yep.
great
Yeah,
question, Mark.
PDF export is very high on our list. Unlike the question that was asked before, PDF export is like, if we don't do it like now, we'll do it very soon. Yeah.
Cool. We've got another question. Also, love this. Keep them coming, everybody. This is awesome. Is there a keyboard shortcut to get to the top of a table? Ooh, I actually don't know if that's the
Um,
case. Do you know the best practice there?
well, you can just use the arrow keys to navigate. So if you press Command and up, you go all the way to the top. Or if you can also do is if you click out of the table, for example, or go using your arrow keys to the right of a table or below a table, and then you press up, you should be able to get out of it. I'm not sure actually how well that works, but we
Yeah.
don't. I don't think we have a keyboard shortcut to navigate to the top of the table. But
Yeah.
Command plus up should work.
Totally. And one thing I will say, another option is, Angad, could you just, I know we don't have a lot of content in this page, but could you just go to the options menu so we can show where you can turn on an outline?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So notice by going to options, you can expose this whole menu that allows you to really customize how this page looks and feels. One of the options is an outline. And I like including outline if you've got a page with lots of information in it, because what it'll do is it'll show you in a, spoiler alert, outline, the whole order of it with the headings and also tables. So you can click right to the table that you're looking for, which is a nice way to be able to navigate really quickly, particularly if you're thinking about doing a wiki situation where you want to organize a lot of information. It can really make it a lot more readable, a lot more sort of comfortable, and being able to just like click through and scroll. So that would be our recommendation, Diane. Great question.
Yeah, I don't think there's a keyboard shortcut, unfortunately.
Mhm. All right. We got a question here from Matt, which is, are there plans to integrate more with the Office 365 products as far as packs are concerned? So Angad's team doesn't work with packs directly, but what I can say is that it's something that we've been thinking about, but there's been a lot of other things we've been prioritizing, pages being one of them, instead of expanding our packs super heavily. So it's something that we definitely hear a lot. It's in our backlog. We don't have formal timings of when that's going to happen. But Angad, I don't know if there's anything at the product manager table and things that y'all are talking about that maybe would be helpful for folks to know.
Have people seen the request to pack doc?
Ooh, yeah,
So
definitely grab it. Pop the link over in chat.
yeah, if you go to, let me do that. If you go to coda.io/pack requests, there's a hyphen in between. You can actually go and vote. You can go and vote on packs. Here, let me make it normal size. Yeah, so we have a list here of, wow, there's a lot of votes for Google Sheets. We have a list here that people can go and vote on packs. Anybody can go and vote. And you can also actually go and write what you would like to do with this pack. If you click here, you can see what other people have asked for these particular packs, maybe to spark ideas and so on. Sorry, this list is a bit slow. I'm actually, oh yeah, only we can see that. Sorry, never mind. But yeah, you can tell us about your use case, and then we can go and see it. But yeah, we're definitely working our way through the list. Like Maria said, we're working on other things, but I think we have 2 or 3 new packs coming soon. I don't think the O365 ones are part of them, but definitely, again, definitely on the list. And generally, this is a good place to voice your opinion. Things that are higher up get our attention clearly, and we're talking about almost all of them. But Office 365 is here, so definitely.
And I will say that it's really important when you are using this to also include, like, how would you want to use it? Because O365 pack could mean so many different things, and we want to make sure we're not guessing. So the more
Yeah.
information you can give us about what that means for you and what you want to do, what that process is, the better. Also, I would be remiss in my duties if I didn't also highlight that this request a pack is actually a published Coda doc. So something really neat. I love it. It's in edit format. So that means that as you are out here and making changes, you're uploading those buttons, we actually get that all happening in real time. So if you have something where you want to be crowdsourcing from your community, publishing a doc in edit mode is really a great way to do it. Awesome.
Yep.
Definitely keep those questions coming. Angad, I would love to know when it comes to pages, like what's your favorite part of this feature, and what would you like to add to it? Like what's the next level that you'd love to see happen here?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question.
You
My
know.
favorite part of it is just the flexibility that it allows. And so I've actually been working on 2 projects for the last few months. One of them is a Slash one, and the other one is Pages. And I just know that because we started working on Pages and we were testing it internally, we were using our Pages team doc as a way of testing the feature as well. And I just feel like between my 2 team docs, like the Pages doc was so much better organized, because I knew exactly where everything was at all times. I knew where to put new things. In my other projects, I just before, I think it wasn't that we made people have bigger docs, but it was that your docs were much easier to organize, and you could put information in places that it makes sense. So that's kind of been my favorite thing is, our team doc has probably at this point is 50 or 60 pages in it. But there's only 5 or 6 top level pages, like I was saying before, and it's very clear where you would go if you want to give if you work at Coda, you want to give us feedback on our project. You can go in the feedback area, and there's feedback pages for all kinds of different things. There's one for where we manage our team processes and etc. There's one for where we go and do our write-ups on decisions that we're making. There's one where the engineering team is doing their write-ups with getting input from other engineers on some of the decisions they've made, and so on. So it's very clear when you come into our team project hub of where you might want to go depending on what you're looking for, and that's just been really a dream. What I would like to see going forward, I think one thing I mentioned that we're already working on now is being able to sort of create, we give you at the top of the page, we give you a subpages display on your on there ourselves, but people really want to do custom things with them.
Yeah.
Very often in published docs you'll find people will say, if you're looking for X, go to this page. If you're looking for Y, go to that page. Sometimes it will even be a table. I could show you examples of these if you want. But yeah, so that's actually been kind of hard to do, like we were talking about before. So we're making some improvements there. Like I mentioned, the drag one. We're doing at as well, so you should be able to mention a page anywhere. Those are some of the things that we're working on now. Yeah. And then really looking forward, I think someday what I would really like to do is to be able to switch between docs without having to go back to the doc list. So, if I'm working on project A and I want to go to project B, I can just go between projects seamlessly. That would be amazing. So I don't have to have 6 tabs open.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. We've got a question here from Danny, which is when you're sharing with Pages, is access top down? So this is actually a really good way for us to chat a bit about sharing. So how sharing works with Coda is you share at the doc level. You can decide, can people make changes to it? Can they just view it? And you can also decide at certain pages, you can adjust the permission level. So maybe there's certain pages where you just want people to interact with buttons. You don't want them making changes and edits. So it's very much like the doc is the level, and then you can toggle on different settings at the page level. Yeah. Anything else as far as sharing and kind of with this new Pages world, Angad, that you think is helpful for folks to know?
Yeah, I think just to be really clear, when you share a doc, everybody sees the same thing. If you share a doc, everybody gets access to all the pages in the doc. Everybody can go and view all the pages. You can hide certain pages if you're on the Pro plan. But again, even the hidden pages, people can go and see them if they click on the See Hidden Pages. There's a way to do that. And then with locking, which is on the I think the team plan, you can, like Maria was saying, you can specify on this page people can only view, on this page people can only edit, but everybody can still view the same thing. So I think you can think of that as a feature where all docs are shown the same way to everybody, because it makes it really easy also for teams to say, okay, I see it here, and everybody sees the same thing.
Yeah. Great question, Danny. Oh, Diane, I'm so sorry. We don't have any updates on PDF attachments to tables and pages. This is something that we all want just as much as you. It's just that unfortunately, there's only so many hours in the day and only so many folks, and they probably should go home and have dinner every once in a while with their families, or walk to the living room now and have dinners with their families. But it's something that's definitely in our awareness. Just there's been lots of other things that have been prioritized ahead of that. But as soon as we
We're
know,
pretty,
we'll know.
we're
Yeah.
pretty committed to that one.
Mhm.
I think we're going to start working on that soon. My team is the one that works on it. We're just waiting for, again, people to free up from
Mhm.
what they're working on right now. But we're going to pick that up next. So it's coming soon.
Oh,
We haven't
cool.
started
Awesome.
working on it. Don't know when, but it should be in the next few weeks.
Sweet. You heard it here first. Awesome. We've
Yeah.
got a question from Sinding, which is for sharing. Are there any plans to give us the option to publish Coda docs so that the top nav menus are only shown when someone makes a copy of it? I have
Um,
not heard any of this happening from our publishing team, but I'll certainly make sure that I share that perspective with them. Angad, I'm not sure. I know that you're not working with publishing, but any perspectives on this question?
Yeah. Are you asking about when I copy a doc that had TopNav on it? If I want to copy it, I should also see TopNav, even though I'm not publishing the copy. Is that what you're asking about?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We've talked about that a lot. For a while, we were testing that internally. Yep, I completely agree. It's cleaner. Yes, I was talking about that to someone yesterday. Not yet. I'm very interested in making it happen, but has not happened yet. There are a lot of issues there, as you can imagine. In a published doc, you don't really need the toolbar because you don't need to edit, center your fonts or
Mhm.
change something to be a heading because it's someone else's doc. But in your own docs or when you copy a doc, you have to worry about the toolbar. And so that's honestly been like one of the things that we need to think about is how do we deal with the toolbar.
Mhm.
But I completely agree it's cleaner, and yep, it's on my list.
And if you're looking for something that's like cleaner, you know that Angad's always going to be your person. Angad's always looking for like, how do we make it even cleaner, even less, do less,
Yeah,
which is great.
absolutely.
Angad, in addition to when it comes to the Pages launch, in addition to sort of the learning about, oh, there's all these docs that now we need to kind of figure out what does the old doc paradigm look like in Pages. Were
Yep.
there any other surprises during the development of this feature?
Um, yeah. Actually, if you don't mind, let me go back to the previous thing just to say one
Oh,
last
for
thing.
sure. Yeah, for
Um,
sure. Do you
on the making things cleaner, if you are on a team tier and you lock a page, we hide the toolbar for you.
think?
It's just a workaround, but I find that it does make pages look cleaner. So I could actually show a quick example here. Like I'm on a blank doc. If I go and lock it, if I go and lock this page and make it, read only, we'll hide the toolbar. Um, and I find that it looks much cleaner already. So I don't know if that's fully answering what you need. Probably not, but it is a workaround that I like. I
Cool.
use a fair amount of time.
Pro tip.
Um,
I love it.
yeah. What was the thing? You asked about surprises.
Yeah. Any other
Um,
surprises during the development?
Well, there were a lot of things that it's funny, like about maybe like a month ago, we had an internal meeting where I proposed, we use Coda very excessively, obviously, and we have a bunch of ways of making decisions. One thing that I love doing is, for any given question, I'll put all the options in a table and let people vote on which ones they like. It's not sorted. It's not like I'm trying to, do it by consensus, but it's also really helpful in a room of 20, 30 people to see which one everybody likes, and you kind of see their small faces like next to each option. It's like, okay, now everybody doesn't need to speak up in a meeting unless they feel strongly about something just to say which one they like more. And so we had this thing, and this is like a month ago, we had proposed, there's like 6 questions that we're talking about at the time, and we had proposed one option for each one, and then 2 weeks later, for each of them, we had changed what our proposal was. And so we have gone through lots of iteration, and clearly, I think it's like some of these things, like when you design them versus when you actually try them in real docs, it makes a big difference. And so actually, the first alpha for Pages that came out 3 months ago, We were testing with like 50 users 3 months ago, but we did lots of this iteration because we wanted people to use it on real docs, internally, externally. We had a really active beta with like, I think, over 150 people in it to get feedback. And that's kind of what allowed us to uncover these surprises ahead of time. But again, like really, that was also why we wanted to launch this feature and hear from people is how are you using it and what are things that we can do to make it better, because we're still working on improving it. We're still working on aspects of it. And if you guys, now that you've all tried it on your real docs, or if you haven't, like do it soon. And if you give us feedback, we can go and make it even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me because you would think like, oh, pages, that's simple. We're just changing one thing to be a new thing. But it's always
Yeah.
interesting how even those small changes can have all
Yeah.
these ripple effects. Like there's so many other things that come along for the ride that it might seem like it's a small thing, but it's actually kind of a big thing, which is
Yeah,
cool.
just because Coda is such an interconnected product. It's like
Mhm.
if you introduce a new Lego brick, like you have to think about how it connects to every other Lego brick that's like existed before. And then
Yeah.
now imagine like changing the design of a Lego brick that already exists. It's just like you're gonna have all kinds of like, we built the first version of Pages like internally within like a week. We're like, okay, it works already. And it's like, but wait, we have to think about all these things that we didn't have before, or like really,
Yeah.
really simple example is drag and drop in the left sidebar. So here, I'll show you an example.
Yeah, do it.
So when you have pages here, let me just create a bunch of pages. And now I want to, like Maria was saying, I want to actually create a certain hierarchy with them. So I want to be able to put this here, and then now if I have page 3, I could either make page 3 a child of page 2, I could make it next to page 2, or I could make it a top level thing. So like these interactions that you're seeing, like these different, like I can go left, right, like all this type of stuff. We never had to do it before because we never really had, you couldn't nest things. You could either put stuff
Yeah.
inside a folder or it could be outside the folder, and that's it. So we kind of had to rebuild this whole left sidebar from scratch to support. I mean, honestly, if I go, I can go even deeper and the number of options multiplies. So here, like if now that I have more levels of nesting, sorry, let me put this here. Now that I have more levels of nesting, I could actually have page 5 be a child of page 4. I could have it be next to page 4, next to page 3, next to
Mhm.
page 2. All of this stuff was like, it just took a lot of iteration to
Yeah.
make some of these things work. Yeah.
Totally. We've got another question from Marco, which is just curious, do you use PowerPoint presentations internally or is everything in a Coda doc? I can speak for myself. I have seen a couple slide decks here and there, but
Yeah.
in general, because we are super Coda nerds, in my experience, usually folks just use a Coda doc. And now that we have collapsing, the like ability to collapse your headings, we use that a lot for presentations now. You collapse open and it shows an image or some text and moving from there. That's my experience. Angad, how about you and your team? How do you see kind of Coda versus a PowerPoint or a Google Slide presentation playing out in
Yeah.
your world?
It's funny. I open Google Slides using my Coda account every 2 or 3 months. We use slide. The only time that I use Google Slides is for our board meetings.
Mm.
We make slide decks for that. I hope someday we can do those in Coda as well. But I'll go in and I'll see the last slideshow that we used was the previous board meeting. So it's really nice. It's super easy to find the slides from the previous board meeting. But that's really
A little
the
benefit.
only thing that we use slides for, I think. At least like I haven't seen, at least internally I haven't seen. I think we use slides for like maybe the sales team uses them for like some small things.
Sure.
But almost always we just use Coda. I think there's like more we could do to make Coda like a better presentation tool, but there's so much that it offers. Like Maria was saying, collapsing makes it better as well. But like there's just so much that you can do with Coda that you cannot do in a slide deck. That plus we would just be copy pasting all day. But like for example, during a meeting, if you present a slideshow, that's great. It looks beautiful. But like if people can vote on topics during the meeting, it might not look as great, but your meetings just run better. And since we all work at Coda, we're like, it's fine. We know what it looks like. We're okay with that. We'll make it better, but we're okay with that. And so we just end up running all of our meetings, projecting something. We use a lot of pre-reads. People read stuff ahead of time. They'll vote. And like with data, you can have all kinds of controls to filter the data. So during a meeting, somebody has a question of like, what if we cut the data this way? And you can actually do all that in Coda as well. And so yeah, I feel like it could do better in terms of visually as a presentation tool, but I think the functionality it affords just means we never really use slides.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
would say, Marco, if you are coming from a very slide heavy organization and you want to pull in like slides and also maybe have some topic voting or some contextual text or whatever it might be, buttons and fun things, you can always do /embed and embed decks into your Coda doc. So you can actually
Yeah.
be presenting from your Coda doc and also having the other things. So you kind of bring the two things together. That's another option that I see a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I've seen sometimes when candidates interview at Coda, they'll use Coda to present, kind of to make show that they're excited about Coda. And one thing that they'll often do, especially before we get collapsing, but even now that makes sense, is you could actually use each page as a slide, and that
Mhm.
tends to work pretty well as well. You can put whatever content you want. The benefit is you can actually scroll up and down. Like you can have a page be longer than a normal
Mhm.
slide. You can still have all the interactivity that Coda offers, but then
Mhm.
you can still organize your content more like slides. And then
Yeah.
when you go into full screen mode, so if you go here, I don't know if it's going to work if I click it. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yeah. Looks good.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So when you're in full screen mode and you're presenting the doc, we actually let you switch, similar to how Google Slides. You can switch between pages this way, and so you
Yeah.
can still use it more similar to a slideshow,
Mhm.
with switching between pages. So it
Yeah.
does work fairly okay.
And
And now you can add
one
cover photos and make your docs look better. So
Totally. And one other thing that I will say when it comes to presenting is if any of you have to be presenting data or concepts or you're like summarizing information, what I love is that you can actually, by using Coda, you can actually customize answering questions. So for example, if Angud's team has done one of their user surveys and we're in a meeting and Angud's team is sharing, here's all the information we got. If I were to ask a question like, oh, well, what kind of responses are you seeing from pages? If they've got all of the survey data, they could have a drop down menu control to show me like pages feedback, and it automatically filters the information that they're seeing based on my question. And actually, if I can go ahead and grab the Superhuman product feedback doc, which I think
I'm
is a
just going
great
to open
way
that
of.
as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect, great. You're you're already in my brain. We actually have a
Yeah.
published doc by the Superhuman team that puts this into practice, where they can summarize all of their information in this really neat word cloud visualization that we have. So it's a nice way to kind of make presentations more customizable and have it come alive in some new ways.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. So exactly like Maria was saying, you can have interactive data. So I think down here you should have you have a word cloud here. For example, this is the question: what benefit do you receive? What's the main benefit you receive from using Superhuman? You can
Mhm.
actually change it to say, what would you use if Superhuman were no longer available? And you'll see it update in real time, and you can see and actually here you can even hover on it and see, okay, like this many people said this, and obviously lots of people said Gmail. So
Yeah,
yeah.
cool. So this is again, as far as the building blocks that we're seeing, it's just a table and then controls that are filtering that table. And
Mm-hmm.
then word clouds, are these a paid feature, Ankit? I actually don't
No,
know.
data clouds are
That's
free.
just
They're
free.
just a view. They're just a view of a table. They're like any other chart.
Yep.
Um, and if you want to find them, you can type / and type word cloud, uh, or you can go in the explore panel here,
Yeah.
and go into tables and charts, and that's where you'll find word cloud. Oh, this section is locked. That's why.
I love it. Marco says /awesome. I agree.
Yeah. Cool. If you want, I could go finish this list. I'm not sure what else
Oh
we need.
yeah, go for it. Yeah, I've got a couple other questions, but I think this is a really great way to sort of play with the feature and understand a little more behind it. So go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, this was actually, I think we kind of already covered this in a bunch of other contexts, but
Mhm.
kind of essentially just have very few top level pages like agenda, venues, attendees, or speakers. Like, which one do you care about? Okay, I probably care about
Yeah.
the venues. I go in there, I can say, what were the options for the venues, et cetera, et cetera. So you can kind of
Mhm.
have a pretty easy to understand doc, and then let's see what else is here.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, this is like a pretty neat one that I like using. I don't know if people picked up on it yet. Is like, if you make a top level page and every other page in your doc is a child of it, you don't actually ever have to go all the way to the left. This sounds really like a first world problem, but like it is much easier to navigate your doc if like you can do everything from the page itself. You don't have to go all the way here and switch. So if you just make a top level page, in this case you have this, you can always use back to go up, and you can
Mhm.
use these pages to go down, and you can go like all the way up, and you can switch to a different area.
Yeah.
That way you can actually navigate the entire doc without ever having to click
Mhm.
here. It's like a simple. If you already have a doc that had like whatever, like 6 pages and like whatever 6 sections and 3 folders, Now they're all pages, but you can make a top level page, make every other page a child of it. You'll be able to actually navigate up and down all
Yeah.
the way around the dock without ever having to go
Yeah. And
inside the
then
bar.
you could just collapse that side panel then. So that's kind of like the under the hood, and you don't actually have that as part of your active working space.
Right.
Cool.
And by the way, I don't know if people noticed this, but this was another feature we launched as part of Pages. Was if you hover here now, you can actually see the list. So it's also much faster this way. Before you would have to take your mouse all the way here, click this, then close it, and come back. Now you can actually just go here, click, and then just one click and a gesture, and you can actually swap. Yep, and then the last one down here was yep, just use it your way. I think that's again
Whatever you want.
yeah, make it what you like. I think the idea of Coda is always to be flexible, but Pages really does make your doc organization much more flexible than before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say, if you're unsure, like, oh, which of these is right, looking at all of the other apps that you like to use, even if it's just something as simple as like your grocery store app for what you're doing, if you notice the things that you like and notice then how it's kind of put together, you can then use the Pages thing to replicate it. So if you really like being able to go just like, show me more, show me more, show me more, show me more, that option that Angad showed of the one page that holds everything else, or if you like to have like a home page with jumping off points, you can then use that as well. So definitely look for inspiration around you and notice like, what do we like, right? And being able to work from there. Yeah, and this idea of like not displaying the side menu by default. This is something that we've also been debating a lot internally too, because this whole Pages update really changes how we think about stuff. So Ankit, as we're coming into our final minutes here, of course, everybody, please keep those questions coming. They've been absolutely fantastic today. What do you think is the biggest learning that you and the team had during the Pages launch? Obviously, you learned a lot, but
I think I'll say the biggest thing is a lot of the things that people were opposed to initially when these debates happened about whether we should allow people. Some of these happened like 3 years ago when I wasn't even there. And then a lot of it happened when we started this project. It was like, oh, if we allow people to nest their docks, they're going to make crazy nested docks. Like, we should limit them to what about 4 levels? What about 5 levels? And it's like, nobody wants their dock to be messy either. Like, let's just give them the options. But like, they're also going to try to make their docks well organized. I think that was generally what I believed. But I think a lot of people's fears were allayed. So like, when we're now looking at people sharing their docks with us, like, some people have like 6 levels of nesting, but most people just have 2 or 3. And it's interesting how much like more control you have when you have 2 or 3 levels of nesting compared to just 1. It sounds like not that much, but yeah, like, before in our team docs, we would have 1 folder for each quarter, but then the folders would just get really messy because now you have lots of folders. But now you can now you can just have 1 mega folder for like planning, and then all your quarters can go inside of that. And then even within that, if you want to have like inside of 1 quarter, you want to have, I don't know, like projects, you can have like a projects area and that. So yeah, I think that flexibility has been really great. I don't think there have been too many surprises. I will just give a shout out to the team. I think like generally when you have like 4 or 5 people working on a team, like, there's all kinds of friction that can happen, in terms of, but this has been the smoothest project in terms of even just internally. It's been really nice working with customers, working with the engineers on the team, designer, generally getting feedback. It's been one of the smoothest projects ever. So yeah. I think sometimes I just feel like really surprised. I'm like, is something wrong that I don't know about? Something has to be wrong. And so internally, that was like a big surprise. Was this project just went really smoothly, and that was a big shout out to the team.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I will say, as far as, I posted this in chat a while ago, but, during this feature, like Angad was saying, we did an alpha with some customers. We did a beta with several customers. If you want to be getting early access and giving feedback and be sort of an honorary member of our product team, the best way to do it is to join our community at community.coda.io. We always post requests for things there as far as beta users getting feedback. And it's the best way to just like get in touch with us, stay connected. And also, if I do say so myself, our customers are really awesome. And so it's just a great place to connect with really awesome, smart people who are really willing to help. So
couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah, and Sinead, I think this is a great sort of closing thought, which is for any tool, there are trade-offs between flexibility flexibility and simplicity. And when you're in working on a product team, it's how do we allow for that flexibility while also keeping it really simple? And where do we put those guardrails in? And how do we think about those trade-offs in those two areas? I would put that on a t-shirt. I think it makes perfect sense. Ankit, any other final thoughts for the group here? It looks like questions have died down, but any other final thoughts or ideas or recommendations that you would give to our attendees today?
Yeah, just play around, look in the new doc gallery.
Mhm.
There should be some good
Yes,
examples there. And thanks for attending the webinar. But I think my request would be to give feedback. I think even since we've launched the feature, we've heard a lot of really good feedback, and we definitely always build in time at Coda for like after projects launch, we build in
mhm,
a bunch of time for the team to go
totally.
collect feedback, iterate. So everybody that worked on the project is still working on this project. It's not that we launched it and so we're done.
Mhm.
We're still working on it. There's lots of things that we're still wanting to improve. Like the at one that I mentioned is one example. But we
Yes.
really want to hear your feedback, and feel free to message us in intercom or on the community, or you can
Mhm.
email me at ungad@coda.io. So we'd love to hear
Awesome.
your feedback.
For
Yeah.
sure.
And positive was great as well. Happy to share that with the team. Always
Yeah,
encouraging and positive to share with the team.
awesome. Well, Angad, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy, busy day. I so appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us, for your amazing questions, your insights, your thoughts. It's been a true pleasure working with all of you and for you giving us your most precious resource, which is your time. So if you ever need anything, you have an entire company ready and waiting to support you, please let us know how we can help. Also, if you've got a doc you want to brag about, let us know about that too. We love seeing the amazing things that people create. So with that, have a wonderful rest of your week. We do have a lot more webinars coming up this month, so please feel free to join us again. We have all of them posted on our channel. And like Angad said, don't be a stranger when it comes to feedback, thoughts, questions. We're here for you. All right. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thanks, Angad.
Bye. See ya.